The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to yet another feature focus session, second of this year. I hope you can hear me all right, else write in the chat if someone can't hear me. Please note that this session is being recorded, and but do ask questions along the way, and we also have some Q&A at the end. So let's begin. So I'm just checking, can everyone hear me? Okay, let's begin. Okay, so today's session is Advanced Item Placement Tool, and with a subheader of why it beats SAP's UI Designer. SAP's UI Designer will give a lot of different names today. Officially, the title is UI Template, so I will try to keep that in there. First of all, this is an advanced feature, but very quickly, what item placement tool can do. Yeah, so basically it can do 5 things with item placement tool and rest of the B1 UP. It can remove fields that you don't use. It can rearrange existing fields. It can take UDFs from the main window and put them onto tabs or from the UDF sidebar, so you can get rid of that. It can restrict access to fields, which is called, in our minds, make item treat only. And it can create entire brand new UI elements, primarily labels and buttons and golden arrows that you want to make more functionality on. For that, I will give a quick demo. Bear in mind, for those who are already familiar with the tool, it will be lightning short. So I will do my demos for B1 UP on the delivery tab here, and for the return I will do with SAP, just so I don't mix them up. But again, this can be done on any screen with our tools. I will get into the limitations of SAP's. So first off, you could remove things you don't use. So for example, if you don't use owner, you can simply right click and hide it, and it will remove that feature. Then you can take existing fields and move them other places. So for example, I can move this up below the document dates. I'm not going into details on how item placement tool works in much detail other than it moves things around. That we have extended normal e-learning on. This is more about the advanced part we will come to. This is just a summary of what we can actually do. So I moved the field up here instead. Then I can take user-defined fields and also move them onto the screen and put below sales employee. So we got that field in there as well, and let's make a tab as well. So we can right-click and say create new tab, my tab, and take a few of these fields like this, and create a brand new tab. For that, I need to close and reopen. So we got a new tab with some of these fields from over here. I can also go in and make the disabled part of it. So I can, for example, go in and say that the customer reference field should be read-only in OK mode, meaning that if I go to an existing delivery, I cannot really change it anymore. So that might be a thing, while you write it in ad mode and then you stick with it. Final thing we can do is we can make entire new things. So I could, for example, go into my tabs, configuration behind the scenes, and it put on the fields for me, but I can also add new things. So for example, I can make a button. And put it into the system in a position. Let's make it 60 pixels wide and 22 in height. So if we add that button, we will be able to see we can make a button, and I can make that button do different things using yet another tool called validation system. So I could say every time I press this button, I could have it say hello world, for example. So let's make that quickly. So we add this, and we add this one, and when we press our button, oops, we made it a bit incorrect. Just need to have it that it happens not only in add and OK mode, but in all modes. So now it says hello world to us. So this is just a brief summary of what item placement tool can do, but also it shows you that it's not only item placement tools that are in effect in this scenario. So what's going on? We have item placement tool, but we also have make items read only. We have the function buttons, and we have the universal content creator that was the one making the tab and putting in the new button. So so that these tools work together in order to comprise what you need to make. So once we have that in place, we can work with V1UP in order to make your own screen design, as we call it in a general term. So that's what we can do. So what is UI template? UI template is SAP's functionality. They added it into 9.1 and higher, and it mimics some of the features that we can do in usability packets for the last 10 years. So they are late to the game, but they made a tool that could do some of the same things. So let me demo what they can do. And for that, I want to do it on return. Doesn't really matter, it's just to have two different screens doing it. So SAP, I'm running 9.1 Pascal 10 here, so I have a high enough version. And what I can do is I can go into Edit from UI. So if I do that, the screens change, and when I select fields, they get this highlighting. And then I can begin to actually move things around. So I can take fields and move them to other places or move them back. I can hit the correct. I can do exactly the same as what we did with our tools. So for example, I can disable, we hit the owner, and then I moved sales employee up here. And what did we do more? We took the UDF and put it under the same here. We put it in there. And then we disabled the customer reference field. So this was essentially what we did with the system. We added the button and we added the tab. SAP can do that, but this is as close as what we can do in the same manner as SAP did. So I need to exit UI mode, and once I reopen the screen, we can see we roughly have the same. There's some problems with the design here, and that's one of the problems. Also, we cannot really choose the customer reference field anymore. We have disabled it, so they disable in all modes, no matter what we're in. So kind of deal breaker in my mind, but that's what they can do. So that's what we have as, in our case, our competitor. So look the same, and drag and drop. It's cool that they can do it. We can't. I will tell you why later. But it's far from the same in real life, because here we have a direct comparison of the item placement tool and the rest of the tools in the system compared to SAP. There's a total of 45 items on this list. I won't go through every single one of them. I will go through some of the most important in just 1 second. We can do 44 of these 45 things, while SAP can do 6 of those 45, 6. They have one thing that they can do that we can't, and that's fair. But what is the 5 most important differences? So let's go through them. The number one most important feature in my mind is we work on all screens. We have an exception with main menu, which is this one over here, the calendar, and the message overview. Those we cannot because of SDK limitations. But all other screens in the entire system we can work with. SAP can only work with the 26 most common windows. And that's both for 9.1 and 9.2. They haven't increased more screens, but they will of course slowly work up there. But there's several hundred screens in Business One, and they only work with the 26 most common. Granted that those are the ones who actually need some changes as well. But if you end up with some of the screens they haven't thought of, you are out of luck and you cannot work with that system. So that's the most important difference in my mind. Number 2, customization of individual fields. I showed you the return, and I didn't make these align correctly. That's because I actually can't, or at least not in 9.1. 9.2 begins to help a bit, where you actually can go on and do it. But if I enter UI mode again, I cannot make this field smaller so it aligns with this. So you end up with just having a lot of fields that looks very much not in order. You can hope that you can find some of the fields having the same length and width. These kind of go okay and looks kind of okay there. But you cannot change anything. In the same manner, if you have one of these that are very high, so these times this screen designer bugs out of me. So I need to do this again. But they essentially stay the same height. You cannot make them higher or smaller. So you want more space for remarks. You cannot do that with UI templates, which is a shame. Again, granted, it comes in 9.2, some of it, but there's still some limitations on how much you can do. But they are slowly getting there. So perhaps in 8 years, when they have 10 years of experience, they are roughly the same as what we can do. So that's number 2. You can actually move things, but you cannot really make it good. And you cannot really make anything with colors or anything as well in the system. I will have some demos on what we can do with colors and text sizes. But for those, they can just move things around. Then the most important feature number 3 is the ability to create tabs and new UI elements. So if the field is not there as a UI field here, or one of the existing ones, you cannot do anything with the UI template. You can move things from one tab to the other, but you cannot make the entire new tabs into the system. Will it come at some point? Perhaps. Hope for them, because that would be one of the major things that people will ask for. We got a lot of requests on it until we actually made it. For now, 9.1 and 9.2, you are not able to make new tabs. But it might come. Number 4 is conditional disable. So again, I made the customer reference field disabled, but it's disabled no matter what kind of situation I'm in. Add mode, even find mode is disabled. Major design bug in my mind, but that's a matter of opinion. You said it, you want disabled, so now it's really disabled. With B1UP, you can make it conditional, very simple with mode you want it in, but you can also do much more advanced. Not that I will go into it, but it could be that it should only be disabled if this specific customer has the system, or it should be disabled for everyone but the manager. So we have a lot of additional conditional things, not only modes, that we can put in, while I don't see a scenario why would you ever disable a field and not have it opened in any mode compared to why not hide it there? It's just there. Nobody can add something. Okay, you can make these UI templates for multiple for different customers or different users if needed. But else, it's kind of dumb to go in and do it. My final thing I have as most important things is that we are add-on friendly. What this means is when you hide things, certain things in SDK cannot happen. So for example, if someone used the owner code right now and said they wanted to do something with it, they wouldn't be able to do so because it's now hidden, and hidden fields cannot be interacted with by other add-ons. What we do instead, we move the fields off screen. When we hide it, it's essentially just put up here. If you imagine that the screen would go up in minus pixels, it would be up here. So you're still able to interact with it using other add-ons. So they won't crash just because you will move things around. They might look a little incorrect because they dynamically place themselves next to the field or something, but that's not really something that can be fixed in any way other than the add-on being flexible enough to say I want to place myself below something, so some other fields in its configuration. But other than that, we work by still being able to set the fields while SAP simply just crash. We have when this come in, usability package needed to have a lot of additional checks because someone might have disabled a field or might have hidden it. And in our cases, that won't happen because we are an add-on and we know what add-ons need. So those are the 5 biggest deal breakers in my mind of why we internally haven't just switched to UI template now that SAP can do the same. Yeah, a few more demos on the system. Yeah, we already talked about the return here. What was wrong with it? We couldn't put it in the correct places and such things, which is the deal breaker for me. Especially the one with disable and find mode. I also talked about we being able to do even more with our fields in the system. So I want to switch back to delivery and show you a bit more things that I cannot even show in UI template because it's not even something that is nearly there. So what I can do some more advanced configurations. So I can go into my item placement tool. I won't go into much detail on what's going on here, other than I have the different fields in the system that can do more things. So this is just for moving things around and telling where UDF should be. But the rest of the configurations here have a lot of different options you can do even more. So let's quickly have a little check on what we can do. So I want to actually try to take this field, item 29, return on system information, and make it a bit bigger, because whenever I'm the delivery, I want to very quickly be able to see the total in the system. Just as a business scenario, it could be any of the fields. So I want to actually go in and have that my total. I want to be able to have it do a bit more. I don't want to really move it around, but I actually want to make it a bit higher. So let me make it 20 pixels high, so I have more room in here. Then I want to go in and say it's important to me, so let's make it bold. And let's also go in and say the font size should actually be 10 pixels instead of the normal 8 or 9, whatever it is normally. So I can do that, so I get a bigger field. I can control if it should be right justified or not. So let's do that. So it's now right justified. And I even want to go in and say I want to have a different color on this field, so it really sticks out on me. Not the best colors here, but I make it red as a background and white as a foreground. Really sticks out. So now I actually see my field with much more contrast. It's bigger, showing me the exact thing in there. And again, I can do this on pretty much anything to highlight with colors. And even the colors, we have some samples, not now going into it in this session, but I can actually make it so that it turns red if the total is higher than $1,000 US, and it's only the normal gray if it's less. So conditional coloring can also be applied if needed. Okay, let's move on. So a bit of credit where credit is due. Things that SAP's UI template can do better than us. First of all, they can edit directly with drag and drop. You saw me use the mouse to just drag and drop, while we need to right click and say, do we want to place it above or below, and place it above and below. The reason why we can't do that is because SAP simply don't provide that functionality to us. When SAP normally have some functionality, we only get 80 to 90% of that functionality, and drag and drop is not one of the things we have been receiving in this SDK. If they at any point do it, I would very much like to actually do drag and drop with item placement tool, but for now we need to right click. So they have an advantage on us there on the dragging and dropping around the fields. They also are slightly better at dealing with font sizes. We have become much better at it with the latest 2 releases, where we have what we call relative placements. But they are in full control when they do their UI design. So if you especially work with very high font sizes, like 18 or 20 in font size for the visually impaired, their changes doing it in one font size are better scaling than we can do. If you have a very old system, you will see that we are very bad at scaling, but in the new releases, we are much better at trying to keep up with SAP, but still they beat us a bit when you do font sizes. So if you have some people running 10 pixels in font size and others running 14 and others running 18, SAP is simply better at going there compared to what we can do. We do the best to our abilities what we have in the SDK, but that's the deal with the SDK. Point number 4, they are a bit faster. Not needing to have an add-on reapplied all these changes, there will be a few milliseconds of them being faster every time they open a screen compared to what we can do. So it could be a deal breaker if you move 500 fields around, that we take a few hundred milliseconds more than what SAP can do. That's, of course, from case to case on how much problems there are. And finally, the one thing we cannot do. Let me show it to you. So if we go to our delivery and make the field bigger, and then go to delivery again, it remembers the size. We also have something called function buttons, and if you add those to the system, it will always be in the minimum size every time. So kind of the thing, if we put our buttons on, we tend to lose the ability to be able to remember the size. It's an SDK limitation in the system, been there for ages, and not really seeing anyone resolving that issue in SDK itself. With SAP, they are actually able to do that. So if you go to the return and turn into UI mode, they can make themselves bigger. And once you go into return mode, it is now this size all the time. It simply cannot be made smaller in the system. So it's not even just remembering the size, this is the new size. Giving a lot of problems for add-ons, but we will get to that as well. So again, they have a few hits above us, but again, one thing we cannot do, others they do slightly better compared to 40 others that they can't do at all. So with that, let's move to the very common questions we get around UI template. So can you do UI template and B1U on the same screen? I would like to say the answer is no. There's technical some possibilities, but let me quickly show one of the limitations. Limitation we are actually working on seeing if we can fix somehow, but so far no deal. So as I told you, we made the return bigger and added this button. But if I go in UI mode and make it even bigger, we can now see that the button are not told that it's in the new size. So these things happen. Sometimes it helps restarting, and it will now change to understand it. But there is some limitations on doing such things. And at the same time, there can be some problems regarding trying to use both item placement tool and a UI template on the same system. So imagine one of them says, I want to remove this field, and the other one says, I want to move it to another position. So I don't recommend using the same at the same screen. Pick a tool for each screen. You can easily do that. Return do it with one tool, and the delivery do it with another tool. But stick with your tool. I hope you stick with item placement tool, because in my mind it's a better tool. But if you go to the other ones, then you need to give up that what you can do with item placement tool, at least. Function buttons in some regards, not everyone, but in some regards. And also very, very important, if you tend to use it, be at least on patch level 6 of R9.1. Before that, UI template was horrible. It had a lot of bugs and made it almost impossible to use with any app. So at least patch level 6 if you go that route. Other thing, I would say, thinking about taking item placement tool out now that SAP has some other functionality. And of course not. Mostly for, of course, because we can do so much more that they can do. But even if they come to a place where they can do exactly the same as us, we will still, of course, keep it up to date for legacy purposes. So down the line, can I say the same exactly in 10 years when SAP have every single thing, if they ever get that route? Of course, that would change, but in the next 3-5 years, I cannot see in any way that we should get rid of item placement tool. We will rather extend it to do even more things that SAP can do. Okay, with that, I would like to hand it over to questions. You can write questions in the chat or the question sections in GoToMeeting. So while people are doing that, I would like to mention that the next weekly focus session is on the 8th of March. And there we will talk about MailChimp. We will talk about what MailChimp is and how it delivers within the B1 usability package and how we can set up synchronization and so on. But for now, if there's any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask a question or write the question in the chat. And if you have no questions, then you are free to leave the call. And I thank you for attending. So no questions so far, but if anyone has one, please write it. Okay, there seem to be no questions. I really hope this gave you a clear overview of what item placement tool can do compared to UI template. I think I've been fair to UI template, but of course I'm a bit dated. I'm one of the developers of item placement tools, so I of course like the functionality better. But bear in mind what the limitations are if you are for UI template if you decide to go against and use that instead. So with that, thank you for attending and have a nice day.